Hello, welcome to Retro Restos. We keep modern classics moving, and today we've got a new project. It's a Mark III Honda Prelude. Stay tuned. Okay, so technically it's not a brand new project to the channel. We did a video on this very briefly a month or two ago once we actually got the car. Just a very quick reminder, this was from about 200 miles away, 250 miles away from home, so we had to take a bit of a punt on it and take a train. Unfortunately, when we went to look at the car, it wasn't quite what we'd hoped for. There were a few things that the seller hadn't disclosed, but really we just had to kind of suck it up and bring it home anyway. So there's nothing major there, just a few little niggles. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through the car and let you know what we're looking to do, and then hopefully you can subscribe for updates and we can keep you posted. So where do we start? Well, the interior is as good a place as any. It's in extremely good condition, I have to say. The car's only covered just over 100,000 miles, and I think only 2 previous owners with lots of paperwork. So fundamentally it's actually a very nice clean car. As I say, the interior is, if I just pop the seat there, the interior is very clean, in lovely condition. Back seat's barely been used actually, so a nice solid snap to the retractors there. Yeah, still got the original mats, which is kind of cool, and generally really in quite nice condition on the inside. Nothing really to complain about there. So let's move outside. Okay, so mechanically she seems pretty sweet actually, runs well, starts okay, with one obvious exception which I'll explain shortly. She's actually in very clean condition overall. I'll just give you a very quick walk around. The bonnet's up because we've just had to actually put a temporary battery on to start her up. She is all original in there, needs an oil change. I'll change the air filter, probably the HT leads, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately the previous owner put some really awful lights on, like halogen kind of big glass eye things, which aren't they're retracted at the moment, so you can't see them unfortunately. But in so doing, what I think he's managed to do is not wire it up terribly well. 2 problems with that. One is it's drained the battery down to 6 volts, and I've got to try and rescue that somehow, or get a new battery. But the other thing as well is that you'll see that this side doesn't actually retract quite properly at the moment. It's being held off by the wiring. It's just really a bad job. Actually, I've never had a problem with the original lights on these cars, so I'm going to go and put some original ones back on. Moving around to the side, the wing has some damage. There has been an impact around this sort of area, and I must confess, I've already done a little bit of PDR on this to get some of the dents out. It's looking much better than it was, but it's far from perfect yet, and I think actually, in all honesty, I'll probably just have to take the wing off, and then I can get a dolly on it and actually sort of straighten it out properly, hopefully without the need to repaint it. The only thing is, although it doesn't pick up very well on the camera, there is some damage still there which the PDR hasn't quite managed to get out, and it's right across the reinforcing bar on the inside of the door. So we're not going to be able to push it out anymore or even pull it out anymore, so I fear that might need a bit of filling and then some paintwork blending into the door, but we'll worry about that later. So moving along, I'll just give you a quick look across the car. Very clean overall, as I say. There's a bit of rust that needs doing here, so we'll pop that clip at some point and dress this properly before that gets out of hand, and we'll move on around the back of the car. So as we move to the back of the car, we can actually see, although it might not pick it up very well, there we go, there's a scratch there. Bit of a nail stopper, to be honest. Someone's actually keyed the car at some point. I have lightly tried to polish some of that out, and I think, or I'm hopeful, that I'll be able to get most of these out without having to re-lacquer the car, so that will be useful. Certainly we'll do the best we can. As we move around the car, someone's actually managed to force the rear lock on this at some point. Now, it can be opened easily from inside the car via the boot release, as you probably know, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, this lock has been forced, and someone was obviously keen to get in, because in so doing they also managed to bend the bodywork a bit there. I have actually managed to flatten it out a little bit, but that needs to be properly addressed now, and obviously we need to repaint this before the rust sets in, and of course we need a new lock barrel, so that's to be done. As we move around back to sort of where we came from, the main issues really, I think, bodywork wise, and I'll show you these better once we get the car up on some ramps, but unfortunately there's quite a lot of rust underneath. Actually, I say quite a lot of rust. There are two areas. Now that looks horrendous from there. I've deliberately already gone and ripped out a lot of that, but there's some awfully good fabrication work required. That is, believe it or not, the rest of the car is bone dry and absolutely solid, but both sides have gone right along there, so we're going to have to grind all this out. Just hold the camera steady for a sec. We're going to have to grind all of this to see what we've got, check the gauge of the steel, and get some new steel, obviously cut and weld a new piece in there and make that good and solid, and then there's some repainting to do, of course, afterwards. In addition to all of that, the tyres are quite cheap, I think remolds. They're not perished or dry, and there is plenty of tread on them, but they probably need doing, and I believe the exhaust was blowing on the last MOT, so that's probably going to be replaced also. So all in all, there's a few little jobs to do, yeah, on the face of it, a great car, but a few jobs to do, so stand by and we'll give you some more updates. So that's a quick walk around for you of the Prelude. Now it's time to make a cup of tea and get her up on some jack stands.